Now we actually waited an extra day because I didn't want the weather to be, we had snow and rain and wind, and what I wanted to do, this is pretty much ready for primer. I just have to put some tin foil around the wheel balancer. But well, let me explain to you what was important about this. What's important about it is if you don't have a wheel balancer, and you're going to try this, like you're going to hold the wheel on the end of a broomstick and spin it, or you're going to hold it, put it on top of your head, and whatever you're going to do. It's really difficult. Now, Pokey donated this to our illustrious A-Team cause many years ago. We've used it many times. Obviously good for balancing wheels. But I can't even imagine how you would paint a wheel without it. It's useful now, and for detail sanding I've used it. The most important thing, though, the most important thing that I find is when you're painting it, and we're going to be putting on the primer today. It looks like we're going to go up to about 30 degrees, so at 30 degrees this will be fine. I'll leave it in the garage overnight. The reason, of course, is paint, all paint. The warmer it is, the quicker it dries. When you put paint on in cold weather, it takes forever to dry, but it gets an incredibly good bond. It bonds a lot better. So it'll be to our advantage. You know, and I've heard people say, you got to paint at 70 degrees or at 68 or something. I paint it out when it's snowing outside, and you can decide whether it's worth it or not. Anyway, we are ready. I did a lot of work on this, the last couple of videos that I sent out to my friends and family or whatever. But the idea is at this point, before you put any of this primer on, and this is, let's put this up on, Rust-Oleum self-etching primer, got it at Lowe's, $5 a can. That's for sure the best primer that I've used for this, especially for aluminum. Another thing too, you would not want to sand the aluminum and put this aside to dry for 6 months. Because aluminum, just like steel, starts oxidizing at a much slower rate, but it still oxidizes. So it's to your advantage to get this done as soon as possible. Now this is the trick I've used. Ordinary tin foil and maybe some masking tape. I don't want to get any paint in by those bearings. It's like wrapping it in a Christmas turkey. And this will just protect it in the time that we're painting. We're going to take it outside in 5 or 10 minutes here. As soon as I have my coffee this morning. Take it outside. Get on a nice coat of primer. And it's cold out there. I'm going to have to get bundled up. But this just protects it, keeps it looking a little bit nicer than it would. I think we're going to have to do this. He breaks the whole light. See, these are the things when you don't do this every day. You do the base first. Does he edit it out of the video so he looks professional? Nah. Nah, we have these problems all the time. Actually, it's the opposite of editing things out. I try to leave what I think things that would, I should remember this, but I'm getting old. I try to leave in things that I think would be useful, because the people that would be entertained by any of these videos, I think are people that really want to know how to do this. I've kind of learned from other people that have shared the information. I'm just trying to pass it on. And I'm trying to pass on some of the things that don't work, too. We found enough of them. But the tin foil, that was an idea that came from the late Walt Pray. Shared a lot of stuff with us. Let's go outside. Let's get bundled up and go out into the tundra. I'm always glad when I wait for a day like today, because it was really raining and snowing. You can see snow and ice and everything all over the place here. But worth waiting for a day like today. Now the idea is here, it's always better to get on several thin coats. Just avoid getting runs if possible. Several thin coats will cover. This is all going to get sanded out, of course, but just makes it easier for us. And this work is hard enough. You don't have to find any ways to make it any more difficult than it already is. Now luckily we don't have any wind to deal with. Oh God, thank God we don't have any wind. The wind is the worst. The cold you can easily deal with. The wind, not so much. Now it looks like all of the sanding we did right now is going to start to pay off. It's like putting that good foundation on a house, and now you're putting up the beams, and just makes it so much more fun, so much easier. And having the wheel, the balancer to do this, just makes it so much easier. Now I gave it about 10 minutes just to set up before I put any more on. It's going to be a difficult thing to get down into these little hollow spots, but of course we'll try. Now the next thing, while this is drying, I'm going to try to mix up and test the paint that I'm going to use. I'm going to mix my own paint. I'd like to have a unique color if possible. Yeah, the wheel balancer really, without a wheel balancer, this is really a lot more difficult. I'm trying to look at this from different angles and just for the next 5-10 minutes spin it around a little bit. Let's see how that's going to look. Look for any dry spots. Looks like we got pretty well covered. It's cold out here though. Trust me. There's ice on the pond. It's not fun being out here, but luckily there's no wind. And I'm glad we waited to do this. Now my plan today, because of the temperature, we still are under freezing temperatures out here, of course. The plan is I'm going to let this dry until just before dark, which will probably be, and we'll probably have the baby here too. I want it to dry for as long as possible. And again, I'm babysitting it right now, just keeping that moving. That just minimizes the chance you'll get a run. I'll put a second coat on there, and then that'll be ready to sand tomorrow morning. Now what I'm going to do, and I'll basically do it off camera, is I'm going to mix my own silver paint. Yeah, you can just go buy, and the best that I've found so far is the Mercedes match paint. But this is going to be a thing for me. I want to have a custom color. So what I have these, what I'll call flakes. These are from back in the good old days of, and I mean really old days. This is old stuff. Look at the price on it, $79.95. Anyway, what you do is you mix, you get clear paint, which we have, of course, and you mix any combination of it. I'm going to make a couple of combinations. This is silver powder. Each one results in, and these are larger flakes, but each one of these are the diamond flake ones. Each one of these silver pigments, along with, and I don't have any of it here, I got to look and see if I still have some. I have silver, it looks like peanut butter, silver paste. But what I'm going to do is, and I'll do it off camera because it's going to be a very long, it's going to be a long rest of the day here until we pick up the baby. I've got a couple hours while paint is drying. I want to mix the paint and try different tests. To get an idea of what color I'd really like to have on these wheels. I'd like to have a unique color. And in the beginning I wanted to paint them blue so they look like the MotoGP bikes. Then Luciano suggested painting it back to being black with a little bit of flake in it. And in the long run, the color I think I'm going to like to have is silver, but I've been known to change my mind at the last minute too. But having this and being able to mix your own paint, a big advantage. Especially when you don't have to match something. Now this is my little test of the 4 different, let me make sure, this is just an acetone can. This is one silver that has, you can see how reflective it is. It says a lot of the powder in it. I made 4 different silvers. This is a darker one. You can see it, and I got runs, it doesn't even matter. It was not crazy about the way that looked. Oh, the lid's on the can is loose. Another one with just the powder and no flake. And so now I'm just going to let them dry. Shoot a little clear over the whole can, just an old acetone can. I'm not worried about runs or anything. And then take it out in the sun and pick out the one that we want to actually do the wheels with. So the final match on the silver, it's a little bit lighter than this and with a little more of a flake in it. A little more sparkly. We'll see when we actually get the wheel done in the next couple days. But for today, we had a great day. The wheel is in primer. The second coat of prime is on there drying. And we're ready to go pick up the baby. Cookies falling out there for Santa Claus?
No, not all of these. We put them away for Santa.
That's quite a few cookies for Santa Claus.
What happens if you give Santa more cookies?
You get more presents? Think Santa Claus likes these extra cookies? We're going to decorate some gingerbread cookies.
What, baby?
I'm going to give him a 4th one.
No,
No, him.
Look at this
Santa.
cookie, it says R1. I think I'll eat that one. Can I eat that one? Look at this, I can't even get a cookie.
Santa's going to eat that.
Santa's going to eat the R1 cookie.
Can Santa eat the R1 cookie, Grammy?
Luciano ate the Ducati cookie already.
I don't think Santa's going to want the R1. I think he's going to want the ones that you picked out.
I think Grandpa Windy wants the R1 cookie.
Yeah, but
Should I eat this R1 cookie?